Sean. It was so fun. It's such a privilege.
I didn't realize that they do that on
Every year, it's a different story, but the same general concept. Marianne Lust, and do marathon in the summer spring.
It's just
The hair thing or her thing? No, I would describe her as Marianne Lust.
okay.
She came on stage beforehand.
Oh yeah.
Forced to get recognized. Well, I would probably bring you up at like 6:30 or so.
Yeah.
We're supposed to kind of like get settled.
Maybe just give me
I'm just going to say a little something and then I'm going to introduce you. Take it from there. Scheduled acts. You did not. But close to but we welcome any impromptu moments throughout the evening. But I'll let you figure that out. Okay. Once I hand it over to you, it's all
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, we're good to look. No, it's just what I need for the woods. I need for the woods. Before Thanksgiving, I need for the last weekend. So he's been sitting on the couch forever. So yeah. I will. Thank you. Pass it all along. Yeah, he went to work today, yesterday, a little bit. But yeah, it's hard. Whatever.
Merry Christmas! Yeah, did you make this? They're so good. Indeed. Nice couple of kids.
Gotta give me that.
That's not a bad life.
like to think it was that happy.
If it hang on the
Well, good evening, everybody. It's so good to see you all. It feels different being over here. I'm not used to this. It's a little lower than the other one. I don't like that. Welcome to the United Church of Lincoln's Christmas Tea 2024. It looks amazing in here. It smells amazing in here. We're always grateful to Lisa Prescott and the wonderful team that she assembles to make this happen. Where is Lisa? Where is she? You know, oh, there she is. Everyone turn around. Look at Lisa Prescott. Just so, I know she loves that kind of thing. She loves it. Lisa, your sense of taste, your sense of style, your thoughtfulness, all of your gifts bless us so much this time of year and throughout the year. So we love you and we're grateful for you. And we get to enjoy the fruits of your labor and the team that was assembled. I'm told that we have Linda Norton's famed eggnog that your pastor is enjoying. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to meet Linda, but I feel connected to her, enjoying this delicious eggnog. Got punch over there. Nothing has been spiked so far, so if that's a concern, get it early. Beautiful savory treats in the back. If you've not discovered those, there is a pimento cheese spread, and this southern gentleman is very happy about that. Thank you. And then as you make your way on stage, we've got chocolate cakes and cookies and freshly baked apple pie that Mike Harding is mercilessly going after at this very second. Brought to us by Carl, of Carl and Susan, who will both be considering membership at the United Church of Lincoln. So where's Carl? There he is. Yes, Carl, thank you. Carl also said 6 o'clock means dinner time, so the random mac and cheese on the table was a gift from Carl for anyone who has not eaten dinner yet. Well, I am so glad you all came out. We're going to have a good time. You know how this goes. It's casual. It's fun. It's a time to mix and mingle. It's a time to enjoy the beauty of the sanctuary and the beauty of the company of everyone that is here. This year, we have a special treat. We have our very own Master of Ceremony. Master of Ceremony. And he has assembled a list of wonderful performances that will delight us throughout this evening. He's also still taking sign-ups, so if the Spirit moves you to come up and read a poem or sing a song, do a little jig, however the Spirit might be leading you, you're warmly invited to do that. And I'm excited. I get to just be in the pews and among you this evening. So, without further ado, please help me welcome the United Church of Lincoln's Christmas Tea 2024 Master of Ceremony, Mr. Sean O'Neill! Dun, 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 dun.
Welcome, everybody. I've heard this is 30 years that we've been doing the Christmas tea, over 30 years, since 1982, I believe, in this great white church with its steeples rising to the heaven. But more than the walls, it's the people in the church that makes this church. And I mean, so much has happened in this church. We had sorrow, love, ceremonies, births. It's just part of the community. And down the road is the country store. And with these two buildings make up a typical Vermont village where community meets together. Today, as corelous said, it's very casual, even though I'm dressed formally. And
doesn't he look great?
And I must say that with this church, for 3 decades, our leadership of David Wood, and then for a little while, then we had Justin Cox come in, and then, of course, our beloved corelous Bryant. So today, all I'm going to do here is I just pop up once in a while and say, we're going to have a performance, and in the meantime, just mingle. The whole point of this is to community, to celebrate Christmas and community amongst each other in fellowship. So I'm going to introduce some acts throughout the night, and if you want to perform yourself, come see me, and I'll fit you in. So the first person who I'm going to call up is Judy.
Yeah.
Do you sing and speak?
Yeah.
Very
No,
good.
solo.
Are you next?
You and him. Probably make this slideshow. So this song is called Be Born in Me, and there's a quote by Barbara Brown Taylor that I have liked for a long time, where she says, "We are all called to be mothers of God, for God is always needing to be born."
This time we've waited for the promise. All this time you've waited for my arms. Did you wrap yourself inside the unexpected? So we might know that love would go that far. Be born in me. Be born in me. Trembling heart, somehow I believe that you chose me. I'll hold you in the beginning, you will hold me in the end. Every moment in the middle, make my heart your Bethlehem. Be born in me. I am not brave, I'll never be. The only thing my heart can offer is a vacancy. I'm just a girl, nothing more, but I am willing, I am yours. Be born in me. Be
Eat, be merry.
Oh, yeah, just give
No, it was neighbor's stuff. It was at his house, and we didn't get the memo that this was outdoor. The blog,
Hello, everyone. I was told I have to use this mic. So we're going to be moving along with the entertainment. And we're going to have Reed Prescott, our distinguished leader of the Deacons, is going to come up and say words. And then right after him, we're going to have the choir is going to jump right up in there. So choir, get ready.
Hello. This has become a tradition in this church, the Christmas tea, and it's a time of the year where our community and all communities around the country and the world are really steeped with traditions, their own traditions. And we all have our own personal connections and our own personal stories that make this time of the year and this season special. And a lot of times they're just personal to us, and most people aren't even aware of these little things that are important to us, that trigger memories that are deep. One of which is as corelous mentioned, the eggnog that was made for many, many years by Lisa's sister Linda. And now it's been passed on, the recipe's been passed on, and it's kind of become a tradition. Lori Rivers made it. Now I know that this tradition has been going on for many years, because one year, in 1992, in the spring of the year, Lisa and I went up to Ron and Peg Rude's, and we sat down with Ron and Peg, and I looked across and I told Ron that Lisa and I would not be doing the Christmas tea this year. And we'd done it for several years up to that point, so it gives you an idea. And I let it pause for Ron to kind of panic and said, oh my gosh, who said what? And I said, and it's because Lisa's due date is falling at the time of the Christmas tea. Now I know this has been going on for many years, because we'd already done it for several years before that, and that little baby is now 32 years old. So it's been going on for many, many years. Another tradition that's special to me is, I don't know if you know this about my wife. First, she doesn't like attention, but she's very, very particular about how things look. The decorations in the church, her and Linda were a big part of, and Lisa's still a big part of. The way the food is displayed, all these things, the arrangements that you might not even be aware of over at Burnham Hall that change regularly are all her little touches that she quietly does and really doesn't want attention for. So one of my memories is one year, Lisa was a deacon, and she was on the board with John Voitier. And we all love John. And John said, Lisa, what can I do? And Lisa says, well, John, I need a tag for the decaffeinated coffee. So John says, I got it. So John left and he takes care of it. Lisa comes up and she looks at the decaf. And John couldn't find anything, but he did find a Band-Aid. And he took the Band-Aid and wrote decaf on it and put it across the cup. Which to most of us would be fine, but to Lisa that was like, oh my gosh. So after John passed away, I kept on that tradition because it reminds me of John. And today, before coming over here, Lisa and I had a discussion because she saw the Band-Aid and the marker. and she informed me that it creates a sticky thing on the carafe and I shouldn't do that. And I just thought, John and I were just insulted that we couldn't do this. John, she wasn't talking to me, she was talking to the both of us. And then John whispered in my ear and said, you know what, Reed, we can compromise. So I took the Band-Aid and I put it on the paper tag that she had that said decaf. And we can thank John for helping me to compromise with my wife today. But all these are traditions that might not be important to most of the individuals in here, but to me personally, and I'm sure we all have those traditions. One thing I forgot to mention in my Ron and Peg Rude story, today would have been Ron and Peg's anniversary. And Ron always loved to say that I got married on the day where the night was the longest. He said, I'm no fool. So for those of you who knew Ron or don't know Ron, you've got that little bit of story. So I encourage you all to mingle, and the choir I think is going to sing at this point, to mingle and start to create your own stories, your own traditions, get to know people, get to find out what their story is. Because to me that's what community is about, and that's what this evening's about. So thank you.
Hey, Wyatt. I love the chaos before the choir started. It was, and then they all came together. That was awesome. You came together. You did.
You're so.
Now we have one other person to come up right now. Corelous has a poem, I believe, and then after Corelous, we'll mingle again, and then we'll have some other entertainment a little bit later. But Corelous, take it away.
Thank you, Sean. You guys enjoying yourselves this evening? Yeah, good food. You sounded great. All right, I have two things I would like to do. The first is to read a poem that I just love. The second is to sing a song. So if you will endure the poem and just get to the song, that'll be good. It's not a Christmas poem at all. It's a beloved poem that I had to memorize in elementary school, and I remember getting $200 to memorize it word for word. The money is long gone, and I have since forgotten it, but I will read it. I just love it, and I think this might be my Christmas tradition of doing a non-Christmassy thing. This is Casey at the Bat. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville 9 that day. The score stood 4-2 with but one inning more to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey could but get a whack at that, they'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake, and the former was a hoodoo while the latter was a cake. So upon that stricken multitude, grim melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey getting to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted and they saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second and Flynn a hugging third. Then, from 5,000 throats and more, there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley. It rattled in the dell. It pounded on the mountain and recoiled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing, and a smile lit Casey's face. And when, responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat, no stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when he wiped them on his shirt. Then while the writhing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance flashed in Casey's eye, a sneer curled Casey's lip. And now the leather-covered spear came hurtling through the air, and Casey stood a-watching it in haughty grandeur there. Close by the sturdy batsman the ball unheeded sped. That ain't my style, said Casey. Strike one, the umpire said. From the benches black with people there went up a muffled roar like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. Kill him! Kill the umpire, shouted someone in the stand, and it's likely they'd have killed him had not Casey raised his hand. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult. He bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the spheroid flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, "Strike two." "Fraud!" cried the maddened thousands, and the echo answered, "Fraud!" But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain, and they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again. The sneer is gone from Casey's lip. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go, and now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light, and somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out. Thank you. That couldn't have been new to anyone. Was that poem new to anyone? No, a beloved classic. All right, so that'll be my Christmas tradition. Accept it now. Okay. On a more serious note, I need Judy Brown, who's not here. All right, okay. We're gonna need to fetch her, Nancy, if you could. Yeah, that would be great. There she is. Can we give a hand for Judy Brown, just for being Judy Brown and all that she does. So Judy, for your Christmas gift this year, I have decided to sing to you. This is a song I've loved since I was a child, and since meeting you, I can't even think of this song without thinking of you. Don't worry, it's not like Baby It's Cold Outside. Although, we do spend an awful lot of time together. The things that you see that Judy does, but the things that you don't see. And I have the extraordinary privilege of sharing an office with this woman on those rare days when I show up to work, and to see what she does day in and day out for this church, for this town, for me. Any success I've had in this job has been because of you. You make me look good. And I love you. And I want to say thank you. So this is the old classic Thank You by Ray Boltz. Thank you for giving to the Lord. Dreamed I went to heaven. You were there with me. We walked upon the streets of gold beside the crystal sea. We heard the angels singing, then someone called your name. We turned and saw this young man. He was crying as he came. And he said, friend, you may not know me now. And then he said, but wait. You used to teach my Sunday school. I was only 8. And every week you would say a prayer before the class would start. And one day when you said that prayer, I asked Jesus in my heart. So thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. Then another man stood before you. He said, remember the time a missionary came to your church. His pictures made you cry. You didn't have much money, but you gave it anyway. Well, Jesus took the gifts you gave, and that's why I'm in heaven today. So thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. One by one they came, as far as the eyes could see, each one somehow touched by your generosity. Little things that you had done, sacrifices made. They were unnoticed on this earth, but in heaven now proclaimed. And I know up in heaven you're not supposed to cry, but I am almost sure there were tears in your eyes as Jesus took your hands and you stood before the Lord. He said, my child, look around you, for great is your reward. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. Amen.
I don't know what to say. I think we need a break until the next. We have a couple more things. So just gather and talk, and then we'll have. I think we have three. We have 3 more to go. So we have about half hours.
I
This is hello. This is awesome. We have a couple more to go. So the next person coming up, if you is a distinguished Peter Straub. And Peter Straub, I got to say, I've known Peter a long time. He used to be my cross-country coach. There's Peter Straub.
Sean and I were both younger when I was his coach. In full disclosure, I think it's fair, because we are a loving church family, that after Corellis' wonderful gift to Judy, Dave said his gift to Judy was that he was not going to sing. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it kind of introduces into what we said. Reed has already said this is just a wonderful community event. And here at the United Church of Lincoln, we have some, I think this is one of the sacraments we have that's not maybe a official sacrament, kind of sacrament, but the greeting time at worship is a real sacrament for us. And this evening is part of the sacrament of this church. And it's a joy to be here. And for those who have shared over tonight and over the years, it's just a wonderful opportunity to share. So with that, to be blessed by being lovingly tucked into a snug, warm bed on a cold winter's night. That precious sense of that is all that precious sense of that, all is right with the world. And I want us to remember, for those of us who can remember that far back, being tucked into bed. And on Christmas Eve, that sense of promise that goes with that, all's right with the world, being tucked into snug as a bug in a bed. And then drifting off to sleep, snuggled in a state of peaceful anticipation. There's something about looking at the world through the innocence of child's eyes, isn't there? Well, tonight, I'm going to be sharing a short passage from And the Mountains Echoed by Khaled Hosseini. And the Mountains Echoed is set in Afghanistan and centers on lives and cultures that are quite different from my growing up, but yet, as I first read the passage I'm going to share, I sensed my soul being touched and felt the need to immediately read it again, slowly. For the voices that came from the words spoke to me from so many levels, touching my own experience as well as giving me pause to ponder far more deeply, and especially in this season of Advent. Now, a note of explanation. In the passage, the Arabic phrase Bismillah is used, and I had to look it up. Bismillah. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. The speaking of Bismillahs is a core aspect of the Islamic faith and is said before performing any act of worship, as well as it being common to say Bismillah prior to the beginning of something, even going to sleep. Bismillah, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. May the passage I'm going to share touch your heart as it did mine. When I was a little child, my father and I had a nightly ritual. After I'd said my 21 Bismillahs and he had tucked me into bed, he would sit at my side and pluck bad dreams from my head with his thumb and forefinger. His fingers would hop from my forehead to my temples, patiently searching behind my ears, at the back of my head, and he'd make a pop sound, like a bottle being uncorked, with each nightmare he purged from my brain. He stashed those dreams one by one into an invisible sack in his lap, and then pulled the drawstring tightly. He would then scour the air, looking for happy dreams to replace the ones that he had sequestered away. I watched as he cocked his head slightly and frowned, his eyes roaming from side to side like he was straining to hear distant music. I held my breath, waiting for the moment when my father's face unfurled in a smile and he sang, "Ah, here is one." And he cupped his hands and let the dream land in his palms like a petal slowly twirling down from a tree. Gently. So very gently, my father said all good things in life were fragile and easily lost. He would raise his hands to my face and rub his palms against my brow and the happiness into my head. In the spirit of Christmas Eve, may we feel God's gentle hands lovingly against our faces and feel them rubbing his promise of peace on our brows and into our hearts. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Peter. We have a treat for you. Our prodigy here is going to play the piano for us.
Okay.
Over here.
I don't even get a word out, and he's already heckling from the crowd. So my original plan was to play the piano and have you all sing with me. And then Judy suggested that I have Jim sing with me. And unfortunately, Jim wasn't feeling up to coming tonight, so I asked Pastor if he'd sing with me. And I get here, and I go, "Do you want to practice?" And he says, "I don't think I'm up for it." So I'm back to square one, and I'm going to have you all sing with me. I ask that for you more well-tenured churchgoers who know this hymn probably by heart, that you hold it for at least the first time through so that I can work it out. And then the second time through, we'll sing just the first verse. It's "I Wonder as I Wander," and if you need the words, it's number 183 in your hymnals.
So we'll take them off the audio and bring them down to the piano next service. We have 2 more things left. Reggie Lawrence is going to come up and tell a story, and then we're going to end it with Ian in his Christmas songs.
This is a good line for this old lady to read. Oh, thank you. Okay. I'm going to read a little excerpt from a story I've written that I started to write in the 1980s after I suffered a terrible divorce from the love of my life and lived in the White House on the hill on Cold Spring Road here in Lincoln. And I've been a member of the church since 1984. But I came to the church when I came to Lincoln in 1977. So not all Christmas stories are happy ones, but there is, I think, beauty and a little miracle in this one, and maybe you can find it. So I will just read some excerpts from this manuscript that I hope to finish and actually put on Amazon, like everybody else. It was an early, mild September day in 1980 when I packed my 7-year-old son and old English sheepdog into my Subaru outside the pretty white colonial home on top of Cold Spring Road. There were tears in my eyes as I drove down the driveway. The sheepdog laid his paw on my shoulder and looked excitedly ahead, not aware of her uncertain future. It was the day of my divorce from the love of my life, and I was in total denial and disbelief. So I had rented what was then called the Freed House. The Freed House is the first house on Lincoln Gap Road on the right. And I stayed there for a year so my son could stay in school. It is, at the time that I rented the house, it had a huge barn across the road, which was full of famous carved life-sized carousel figures from Coney Island, the amusement park in Brooklyn. The owner of the house at the time was a writer and collector of American folk art. And these animals were purchased when the park was dismantled. The owner had also left us a real horse named Beauty to care for during our time there. And so the characters in the book, there are 3 characters I'll read you about, which was the woman Willa and the man Mitch and the little boy. His name was Louis. So in the house, there was a huge room that had some really strange aura to it. It had a hexagram on the floor, a huge fireplace, and a carved lion under this spiral staircase. So in the story, I go into the supernatural, but you'll have to read the book to find out about that. But this tells about Christmas. And it was Saturday afternoon when Louis had finished helping with the chores for the day and played with his Legos while waiting for his father to arrive. Wild feelings of anticipation started racing in Willa's mind, and before she knew it, she had a fire in the great room started. Hot mulled cider was warming on top of the wood stove. Without consciously knowing it, she kept looking in the hall mirror to see how her hair looked. She wore her favorite wine-colored velvet dress with a flared skirt, a scooped heart-shaped neckline, short puffy sleeves, and a gathered waist that made her look tiny and young. This was 40 years ago. Mitch had always loved this dress on her. She made Louis put on his white shirt with the green sweater vest her mother had knitted for him. It was growing dark when Willa lit the candelabra on the mantel and placed a new candle in each candle holder in the front windows. She brought in an Advent wreath she and Louis had made in church and scented it on the sideboard and turned on the CD player, Barbara Streisand's voice rang out, singing, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas." "Louis, please bring the cheese board from the dining room table to the great room," she said as she walked back into the living room. "Sure, Mom. Will Dad be here soon?" "He should be here at about 4:30. Willa looked around the great room and realized she had prepared the room for a date with her ex-husband. Well, what the heck, don't be so hard on yourself. At least the three of them would be together for a little while. It was Christmas, almost Christmas, after all. The cavernous room was barely warm. Willa paced back and forth in front of the fireplace while thinking back to other happier Christmases on Long Island. Christmases filled with love and laughter and lots of presents under the tree. She played carols on the piano while everyone stood around and sang. This was the way it used to be. She would carry on as best as she could. What the heck? Willa nestled into the overstuffed sofa while waiting for Mitch, her dress carefully smoothed out around her. She felt as though lots of eyes were watching her. Oh, there are 3 cats in the story. The cats, especially Nesta, went wild, scampering here and there, especially as he explored around the wrapped artifact under the wrought iron staircase. The lion, casting his shadow on the wall between the flickering candlelight, watched from above. Willa sometimes felt she knew when something unusual would happen in the future, and suddenly had a premonition about the great room which gave her the chills. But I will progress to, you'll have to read the book to find out more about that. It had started to snow, and Louis saw his father. He saw the Jeep his lights turning into the driveway. He ran to the door to open the door for his father, and Jessie, the sheepdog, ran right behind him. "Slow down, Willie," Willa said. "Don't fall, Louis, don't fall." It had started to snow. Mitch looked very handsome in his fur cap with snowflakes and settled on it. For a moment she thought she saw a twinkle in his eyes when he looked at her. Old familiar feelings surfaced from deep in her heart. No, it was not true. None of it ever happened. They were still a family. Her illusion was spoiled as he spoke, his voice somewhat hard. "I can only stay for a little while." "Come into the great room, Mitch," Willa said. "Mom lit the fire just for you, Dad." "Come and see," said Louis, his eyes aglow with anticipation at the sight of the Christmas present under Mitch's arm. Mitch sat down on the chair next to the sofa. For some reason, the cats surrounded him and jumped on his shoulder. Willa called to leave him alone, shooing them out of the room. "May I open my present now, Daddy, even though it's not Christmas yet?" "Well, it's not really right to open gifts before Christmas," he said with a half-smile. Then he saw Willa give him a pleading look. "But all right, no problem. Before you go." "Well, it's not really right, but before you do, let me bring in your other gifts and put them under the tree." When he returned, Louis knelt on the floor and opened the big box. "Oh boy, is that what I think it is?" It was the Moonwalker rover, a replica of the space vehicle the astronauts drove on the moon. "Thanks, Dad, I love it. Wait until I show it to my friends." He threw his arms around his father. Mitch smiled and returned the hug. See, now I didn't want to read all of this here. Well, it goes on to show that they open their presents. And it's time for him to leave. And Louis gave his father a little present he had made for him. As they left the great room to let Mitch out and opened the front door, the snow under the lights fell in giant flakes, as in a child's picture book, slowly and softly. The countryside was hushed, while these two people who once loved one another and their little boy stood silently frozen in an instant of time. "Merry Christmas, Mitch. I'll wait to hear from you about the weekend." he had promised to make time to see his son, which he rarely did in real life. So it just goes on for a little bit longer. The days passed, and the parents of Willa were coming up from Long Island to spend Christmas with them. And the grandmother played Santa Claus for Louis, and he recognized her and no longer believed in Santa Claus. So tonight our meal is simple, Willa said. Tomorrow night we'll have our usual Swedish meatballs at 5:30. Just get lots of rest, she said to her parents, and then we will go to church. Okay. When they arrived at the church following dinner, this church, they stood by the giant Christmas tree outside the front door and admired the colored lights. The bells began to chime, welcoming all on this special evening. The church was beautifully decorated, giving it a festive holiday air. Willa's parents recognized several people from having visited in recent years. "Please take a candle," said the pastor, smiling as he showed them. You know which pastor I mean. Where to sit. "I'm glad your parents are here with you, Willa. By the way, we have a special surprise that will happen soon." After singing several hymns, everyone turned around as a small procession representing the Christmas family slowly walked down the center aisle. Mary was holding a live baby as Joseph walked beside them. 3 children, dressed as wise men, waited by a life-size manger behind the altar. Louis's eyes shone. "Mom, this is cool, a real baby. But were there no real animals?" "Yes, there were. Look behind the altar. There are figures of animals instead, Louis. This is a small church. They probably decided it would be difficult to have live animals." It's the first time they've had the Holy Family procession here. Following the pastor's Christmas message, everyone held their candle up as a lit candle was passed around from one person to the next until all the candles flickered. The last hymn was Silent Night. As on each Christmas Eve, Willa and her mom sang the second verse in German. Okay, just the very ending. Can we go over? So they went home after the service, and her parents went to bed, and Willa said to her son, Louis said to his mom, "Can we go over and say Merry Christmas to Dreamwalker, Mom?" Dreamwalker is the name of the horse in the story. "I can give him the cup of grain tonight." "Sure, Louis, let's get all bundled up and I'll pull you on the sled. Let me look for the large flashlight. I think the snow has stopped." As they headed down the driveway, Jessie tagging along after the sled, Willa composed a silent little poem for the occasion. The stars twinkled and shone crystal clear, guiding them to the other side. Mother and child, all bundled up against the night, held a lantern, oh so bright. Surely there was a lucky star somewhere above, watching over them on this Christmas Eve night. Louis, did you know the animals in barns everywhere in the world talked the night baby Jesus was born? It was almost 2,000 years ago. Mom, you're kidding. Animals can't talk. Why would they have talked, even if they could? The story goes like this. It was told that baby Jesus was born at the stroke of midnight. There were many supernatural events, meaning unusual, all around the world. Animals were given the gift of human speech in order to spread the word of the baby's birth. At first, they squabbled among themselves, arguing back and forth. Then they learned that the ox and donkey that had been around the nativity where the baby lay in the manger had bowed their heads to honor him. So they became humbled and helped spread the word of the birth of baby Jesus. "That's a great story, Mom. Let's go see if Dreamwalker will talk." Then, as though she understood, Jessie barked twice, and they both laughed. "Mom, that doesn't count. Jessie barks a lot." Once inside the barn, Louis closed the door quickly as Willa shone the flashlight up and down, trying to find the string to the overhead light in the stall. Dreamwalker snorted happily at the sight of them and the cup of grain coming. The sweet smell of hay and warmth from the horse's body were like a blanket drawn around the two to keep them safe and from all harm in the world. Louis dispensed the promised cup of grain. "Merry Christmas, Dreamwalker. I don't mind that you can't talk. Snorting is just as good. Shh, keep silent, listen with your heart, and maybe Dreamwalker will talk in her own way." They listened. Indeed, there was an unusual silence that came upon them like none other. It was a magic moment Louis and Willa would remember always. Thank you for listening. It was long.
Get away.
So I'm gonna go start from the start of my song first. I got my feeling a bit. So my first song, "Take a Horse Up Polly," is in the Louis for Disney for Beauty and the Beast Santa Christmas. That is my very song radio. I DLS that with Hipton from New York, from Brooklyn, because I love my grandma. Where I love my grandma so much that passed away for her. So that's how we're going to so hold it, tag us, and go song, take a hot party, take a hit glass. And so party, sorry. Okay, sorry. 1, 2, 3, go. The season to be sorry. Going over the table. Don't let it go as a party. Merry Christmas!
That was an awesome way to end the Christmas tea. It's 8 o'clock now. We still have some food left, so mingle, finish the food up, but that's it for the entertainment. Unless
There was doggy.
Oh, we could have done this. I didn't know you were so talented.
Come over to help me market my business.
Oh, yeah. She's the one I'm talking about. She's got
That's awesome.
Well, no, it's my professional instrument. I work with Rita.
I thought it was a fight.